Everybody, thank you for being here. It means a lot that y'all would show up and, want to hear what I'm saying. And I just want to, first off, just thank y'all. But second of all, just something very exciting has sort of been in my life the past couple months, and it's been working. I just want to share our new nonprofit that's called Original Design. Original Design. We're going to get into a little bit more of the mission and vision in a second, but I just first off want to give you a timeline of sort of where we started and what was in my head going back a couple months. But to start off first, I go back to my middle school years. And even before that, I've always had a passion for the sport of football, and it's driven me, and I've worked hard at it, and I've gotten the opportunity to come play at this awesome university, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And so that's sort of my passion with that. And then going into high school, I really started really diving into my faith in Jesus Christ and what he's done for me on the cross. So that's another big part of my life that plays into this journey. And then thirdly, coming to college, I was undeclared within my major. So I was trying to figure out, what degree do I want to pursue? And I just decided I want to go with public health. So at first I didn't really understand what I wanted to do with that. And then now I understand how everything's coming together within this nonprofit, Original Design. So those are the three biggest things that, before I even got to college, or before I got to college and when I'm here, that are sort of the foundation of certain things we're going to be talking about in a couple of minutes. But those three things are my life. And I really put extreme value on those three things. And I try to live by those three things. And it was about February this past year where, I was talking with a couple of friends. I remember some of my close friends talking about life and talking about, my life. And I remember just having this feeling that I wanted to dream more. I wanted to use what I have and what I've been given to influence other people in a great way. So I started just dreaming on that, how do I want to use my influence to impact other people in a positive way? So then I started dreaming, and the word nonprofit came up. And it was really cool because before that, I wouldn't really consider myself a dreamer. But now I consider myself a dreamer, and I'm creative. And there's a lot of qualities about myself that I've been realizing about myself. And it's really, from that moment, I started understanding, this is something I really want to do. So I started talking to my close friends about it, talked about my vision, because all these things we'll talk about in a minute, logistically and the vision, everything, they weren't squared away like they are now. It started as just a vision to help people. And I talked with my friends, and then I ended up talking to Marcus, calling him, because he's not in Columbia right now. And I called him and just basically word vomited on him. And right away, Marcus jumped on it and absolutely was all in. He was doing anything he could in his power to help me. And the same thing with a couple weeks later, I reached out to Connor Shaw, and the same thing. Got immediate, yes, let's do it. Anything you need, I'm here for you. Let's do this together. So that was in February around, we were doing spring ball, just about to get started. That was where the vision really started to kick in. But to sort of get into more of the details, I want to talk about who we are as Original Design. And Original Design exists to provide resources, opportunities, and supportive relationships necessary for children to live healthy and honorable lives. That's our mission statement. Everything we do in our organization is going to be built upon this statement. And the foundation of this statement sort of comes in a little bit later, and we're going to talk about how we're going to do that. And this goes back to how I told you in the timeline of these three main things that I've been passionate about. So that's who we are. Now, what a further example of that is how we're going to do that is through public health, faith, and football. So specifically, I want to dive into each one of these three things that I sort of visualize as I sort of visualize a house. And you always hear you have to have a strong foundation before you can build a great house. So the same way this is, with construction, it's the same thing for our organization at Original Design, is we want to be built on solid foundation to where we can actually be set up long-term to be able to help these children. And the children we're helping is in the age range of 10 to 12 years old. All right. So I want to dive into public health first. All right. So like I said, my major is public health. I'm graduating this December, and I'll have my degree there. And, we learn a lot in public health, but the biggest thing that we learn, in my opinion, is the three biggest ways to influence health are diet, exercise, and healthcare. So those are the three biggest things that we learn within our education that are the biggest determinants for living a healthy life. So I have a strong passion for two of those three. I don't really know too much about healthcare and that side of things, so I'm going to focus on diet, exercise, and also I'm going to add in mental health. So those are going to be the three roots to our foundation of public health. Now we'll move on to faith. Like I said, faith has been also something very, very big to me. And what we'll do within our organization with faith is focus on identity and character. And this is sort of a big foundational thing for Original Design, because I truly believe that children knowing who they are as a child of God, who they are, not dependent on their circumstance. You know, I was blessed with two great parents and great community around me, to where I'm not naive to think that these children that we're going to be helping don't have what I had. And I know for a fact, and I have friends that are not blessed as much as I am in that fact. So I want to be able to show them and teach them with our staff, to be able to show them that their life matters and they are a child of God, and their worth does not come from their situation, whether it be good or bad, or anything they do. So that's the identity piece. And then also we're going to focus on character. So identity and character flow hand in hand, in my opinion. So we're able to act and we're able to perform outside of, or because of our identity. So it's hard to have good character if you don't have good identity, because they're two interlocked, they're interchangeable, right? So that's the biggest thing with the vision of faith, is we're going to use identity and character to really help shape these children's lives to where they can live healthy and honorable lives. Thirdly, the third thing we're going to have is football. This is going to be a small part of it, but it also is a big part of my life. So I wanted to add this in here. And we're going to mainly focus on work ethic and accountability. And really what I'm going to focus on with our curriculum here is going to be a lot of what Coach Muschamp, a lot about, you know, I've had a lot of different coaches within obviously our program with quarterback and everything like that. So I'm going to use a lot of the different details and lessons I've learned from them to be able to form a curriculum when it comes to football, so they could have traits of hard work and accountability, which is what we're about here at South Carolina. So it's really, I've got a great opportunity to teach these children what we get taught every day. So really that's who we are. And like I said, every decision we make as an organization is going to be built upon what's best for these children, and also those three foundational points that I just said. Now, I want to sort of go into this of, instead of, you know, we said who we are, now I want to focus on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it specifically. So we're going to implement programs throughout a time period, which we're still brainstorming on this, so I can have more information later, but we're going to have programs. Camps are going to be a big part of what we're doing. But right now, we're brainstorming about how we're going to help sustain this momentum and sustain this vision, because in my heart, my vision for this is not for it to be a one camp thing and then, you know, the kids go home and never hear of Original Design again. Our vision is that the vocab that I'm using for our culture right now is we want to go deep, not wide. We want to go deep, not wide. We don't want to necessarily reach as many people, but we want to impact the children no matter how many the number we decide. And we want to interact and develop them in a deep way. And that's where the change is going to happen. So we're going deep, not wide. So like I said, with camps, you know, we're still brainstorming with that. And the start date and everything, we'll get that out to you whenever we finalize it. But we're going to partner with, you know, the School of Public Health for implementing programs. You know, there's a lot of different, a lot of smart people out there that have very good experience of establishing a great program to where it checks all the boxes, and we'll be able to do that and have the resources around us. Like Carrie Rich, like Todd Rutherford, like a lot of different people that we've already been in contact with. They're going to help us get the right people in our camp, and then be able to process and to be able to have a successful camp and program. And the final thing before I open up for questions is talking about logistically some details about Original Design. Logistically, our board is going to be made up of myself as the executive director, Marcus Lattimore, Connor Shaw, and then Dan Leanne. And Dan Leanne is my pastor at New Spring Church. He's agreed, and that's my board right now. And then also I have other people helping out. And I always say to people that I have a lot of All-Americans around me, and I have the vision and I have the passion for this, but I have some All-American people around me that are helping me with the website, with the business side of things, with the social media, with marketing. So many different people are surrounding me. And I'm grateful, honestly. I was talking to Justin earlier, that I don't have this opportunity if I'm not at the University of South Carolina. And I have opportunity and resources given to me, and the trust that if I say something, Connor and Marcus and all these people jump on it. And I'm just extremely grateful that I get to be here and I get to pursue my passion outside of football, but also with football, and using all of my passion to be able to create change, to be able to make a difference in Columbia, and then we'll see how far this goes. But I'll open up for questions if y'all have any.
First question will go to David Cloninger, the Post and Courier. David, if you'd unmute and go ahead and ask your question to Jay.
How's it going, Jay? Thanks for doing this, first of all. With the shirt that you're wearing, the sign that you had during the protest, how much has that helped really push this organization's message and kind of get that out there into the public eye?
Yes, sir, David. I think that it really helped. I think that it gave me a lot of confidence. This matters the minimum phrase, wasn't, we didn't plan for it to go viral. We didn't plan for it to even get any attention. And to see how fast this message has moved, to speak on matters the minimum a little bit also, matters the minimum is a movement that we're having, that is a secondary thing to original design. So I look at it as original design is the big umbrella. All right. Matters the minimum is underneath. That is a passion, but also a revenue stream, because we do have these shirts for sale on my website and on social media that are all the profit from these shirts are going towards my nonprofit Original Design. So I would say, yes, it definitely impacted, and it definitely sort of gave me some confidence going forward.
Next question goes to Ben Breinert, State Newspaper. Ben.
Hey, Jay. Also, thanks for doing this. Hope you're doing well. I kind of wanted to ask, how much guidance have Marcus and Connor been able to provide, especially as you kind of said, camps are going to be sort of a part of this, and obviously both of them have a lot of background and expertise on that front.
Yes, sir. So Marcus and Connor, like I said earlier, like I could not do it without them. I think they have played a huge role in just, Marcus specifically, calling him. He was one of the first people I called, and just seeing how, I feel like I could said anything and Marcus would have jumped on. And that just shows you that, the type of guys they are, but also, their influence, but also their knowledge. And they've been able to tell me, hey, Jay, you might be doing this wrong. Let's change this. Or, hey, man, you're doing a great job with this. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on moving. And I think that's been the biggest help, is just whenever I need them, they just, we talk a lot. So we've been calling phone calls, Marcus, and then, calling Connor, or he's in the building, so I'll just come see him. But also Dan, making phone calls to him and going up to Greenville and seeing him. So it's been a really big help.
Again, if you have questions, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get to you. Wes Mitchell has the next question. Wes.
Hey, Jay, what's up, man? Good to see you. Appreciate you doing this. I was just wondering, I saw the photo shoot on Instagram, and your teammates have been putting out stuff on social media. What's sort of been the reaction, from those guys, the reaction from Coach Muschamp, and them just sort of trying to support you in all this?
Yes, sir. So it's been great. I think, so the photo shoot was to carry on Izzy, Marshawn, and JC, and we all sort of went up to the parking garage and got a nice picture from Katie Wilson, who's my photographer that's helped me out. And it was just great. I mean, I called them and literally just talked to them about it, and they knew my mission, and they hopped on board too, and were excited to help me get the message out, because they know that, not only is Original Design's vision important, but also matters the minimum, specifically them being African-American, pushing for that social equality as well. I think that played a big part in it as well.
Next question comes from Pete Acabelli of the Associated Press. Pete, and if you would mute your sound first, or unmute rather.
Hey, Jay, thank you very much for doing this. It sounds like you're very passionate about this. Did you have to work with your compliance office to make sure that everything was copacetic with the NCAA. And how do you plan to split time between this and when we finally get back to football? What's your plan for that?
Yeah, so I have talked at the beginning, talked to Jeff Whitehead and Chance Miller a good amount, just about compliance-wise, and I got the go-ahead, the green light from them. The biggest thing obviously is using your name and image, but because this is a nonprofit 501c3, I am allowed by the NCAA to receive money and receive donations for the nonprofit. So that was really cool. When I heard that, I sort of had the green light to really put more time into it. Because at first, I didn't know the timeline of what I wanted to do and when I wanted to do it, especially if I didn't know if I could while I'm a player. But then when I got the green light, man, I just put my head down, and we had meetings in Zoom. This is all during quarantine, so I would do my football stuff and focus on that, and then I would spend the rest of the day really, ironing out the details of this and trying to, talk to the right people to help me get things started. But I think with football, it's I don't have it all figured out. So I'm obviously going to be talking a lot to Coach Muschamp and Coach Bobo and, people that have maybe done something like this before. I know it might have not happened a lot, but I think that, just communicating is the biggest part. I think trying to figure out, all right, my main focus and my main priority is football. And that's how it is. Football is the most important school in football within this. And then this comes after, original design comes after those two. So, it'll all work itself out, I believe, and I know that coach, both my coaches, and would want this to be successful too, and they do. So they're going to help me along that and give me, advice as it pertains to that.
Next question comes from David Cloninger. David.
Jay, do you have a target date for your first camp, maybe next spring or next summer?
We're thinking late spring next 2021. But we're not necessarily sure to put something final, but it's definitely not anytime soon. Like I said, we wanted to launch and get the support and allow everybody in on what we're doing. But like I said before, we're not trying to rush and trying to really establish a really good program to where it could be sustainable.
Back to Pete Acabelli. Pete.
Jay, if you could give us a little insight about what's it like at the football facility now? How's everybody progressing and getting ready for a start of something that we're not really sure yet when things are actually going to start?
Yeah, it's been great. We're working hard and focusing on what we need to focus on, and really trying to have the leadership be able to push for, working hard and grinding and keeping football a priority, because we need to be ready whenever things get going.
Next question is from John Del Bianco. John.
Hey, Jay, congratulations on this startup. Good to see you're doing well. Obviously, you're in Columbia now. You're a Greenville native. I know you said you wanted to keep this, the initiative going deep and not wide. Do you want to start in Columbia, maybe trickle it into your hometown? What is your vision, and do you want to keep this in South Carolina, or do you want to spread it?
So right now, we have a business plan, and we're thinking 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, and 10 years down the road. But right now, my mind is honestly focused on Columbia. And, I do have a big passion for my home city in Greenville, and I know there's a need up there as well. But right now, we're really sort of just focused on Columbia and the need here.
Thanks.
Next question is from Colin Taylor.
Hey, Jake, congrats on kind of getting this started up. I know you talked a little bit about this the idea starting in February, and now you're 5 months later doing it. Why was it important to do it now, and what ultimately set you up saying, okay, this is the kind of time to act and do this?
Yeah, I think it was important to get things started now because of the time. I think I'll never have, going back to quarantine and coronavirus, I think, obviously it's perceived as a negative thing, and it is a negative thing. But I was thinking the other day, if it wasn't for quarantine, I don't know honestly how far I would be in on this. So I know that, certain things are designed, I believe, that are for good throughout bad circumstances. And I know definitely original design would not be where it's at without, a hardship and adversity. So I think it was just a time of, we had 3 months of quarantine where I had, I'm working out, I'm studying, but then I'm like, I have nothing else to do. So the time frame was just perfect, and getting things launched up here, and then going from there and seeing how it goes.
Next question is from Mark Whiteman.
Hey, Jay, appreciate you doing this. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about Matters the Minimum and obviously the message going viral across the state. I know you've got a great friendship with Darian Rensher. How proud were you to see your message kind of explode across the state of South Carolina, and also just how proud of you are you of your friendship with Darian and what he was able to do up here organizing the Black Lives Matter protest at Clemson?
Yeah, I'm very proud of Darian and everybody up there, and Trevor and a lot of the guys that sort of organized that. Very good friends. I love them to death, and just seeing the message spread like it did, it was really humbling, and it was an awesome experience to really see how important social equality and ending racism is, and the message that needs to be across, whether no matter what your situation is, being able to show love and to love everybody no matter what their skin color is. I think that was the most impactful part, is having a movement that's so important to our society right now, but also having really close friends support it, like Darian and everybody have already supported it. It really has been humbling.
Ben Briner has the next question. Again, if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll get to you as soon as we can. Ben with the next one.
Hey, Jay again. I kind of wanted to ask, as you've sort of been, had this kind of break from the normal rhythms of football and been kind of developing this, what have you sort of learned about using time and kind of what you've been able to do with sort of this break from kind of the year-round routine that is sort of football?
I think time management is also something very, like you said, very important. And it's sort of, this time has given us, practice with it. And I think, whenever a curveball is thrown, like we have gotten, it's important to understand that, as bad as it is, it's for a purpose. Everything happens for a reason. And being able to just, manage my time, whether it be watching film or studying the playbook or having meetings or finishing up academics, during the spring semester, whatever it was, giving yourself time to rest, giving yourself time to focus on new passions. Because if you're not, it's really hard and it's really easy to slip into, anxiety and depression, because you do things. We do football all the time. We do school. We have this rhythm. We have this, schedule. When it gets thrown off, if you don't have that foundation, you're not doing things, it's really easy to do nothing and then, really slip down and start feeling bad. So I think time management is also very important.
Next question goes to Brad Mueller. Brad?
Hey, Jay, just curious, do you have a website up yet for this, or when do you anticipate that might happen?
Yes, sir. So the website is www.originaldesignsc.org. And then social media, we have on Instagram at Matters the Minimum. And then there's a original design Instagram called Original Design SC. And then Twitter is OG Design SC.
Thank you.
Could you give that website one more time?
Yep. www.originaldesignsc.org.
Great. Any other questions for Jay? I don't see any, so I guess we'll wrap this up. Jay, appreciate you taking the time and congratulations on this. And sounds like an exciting thing and something to keep you busy.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you, Jay.
Everybody jumping
Thanks,
in.
Jay.
Good, Jay.